This is the CineSnob Podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 201 of the CineSnob Podcast. I'm Jerrod Kingery.
I'm Cody Villafana.
And I'm Jocelyn and Jerrod.
We're back after a week off because of the hell week that was in Texas. The power outages during the winter storm, water outages, all that good stuff. I know, Cody, you lost power for a while.
Yeah.
And cell service.
Yeah. There was a time. The worst of it was, I think, I had 8 hours of power in the span of 24 hours was the worst of it.
What did you do? What did you do?
Seriously, especially you.
Yeah. Well, so the thing was, the cell service was going out too, like you said. So the LTE was gone. So I had nothing. And so I listened to FM radio. I listened to 99.5 KISS for like 6 hours.
How many times did you hear a Godsmack song?
There was Godsmack, Disturbed, Metallica.
Oof.
all the great stuff.
I would have just walked out into the snow.
Yeah. So
anything is better than this.
I listened to FM radio and I read a chapter of a book that I have not touched since.
by candlelight or what?
On my Kindle.
Oh.
Yeah.
You didn't have like anything like saved, downloaded to it or anything? Is it like a Paperwhite or is it one of the? It's
a Kindle Oasis.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a step above the Paperwhite. It's like their luxury model.
So it's not a tablet. It's a
it's still the e-reader, but it's got like page buttons on the side and stuff.
Oh.
But no, I had a bunch of books on there already, and I cracked one open that I hadn't read before, read a chapter, went to bed, and then never touched it again.
What about you? What about you, Jocelyn? Did y'all keep power the whole time?
Yeah, we were lucky we had power the whole time, but we lost water just like you. I think for less time than you did. We had it for a week without water, and it was not fun. We still have, all our jugs everywhere that were boiled that we're still using because the pipes, they have to run a certain amount of time before you can use it.
You had a like a bunch of bottles. By the way, why don't you just use your?
Huh?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
It was like you were writing a meth.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, meth lab. Why didn't you just use your pool water? By the way,
we were to flush the toilets, but you can't drink chlorinated water.
Well, you can.
Ugh.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, probably not.
just put a straw up into your pool and just take a sip.
It was like first world problems. We're using our pool water to flush our toilets. It's like,
we were melting snow.
Felt ridiculous.
We lost water for like 3 days, so we were.
Okay. Well then, yeah. You were all great. I thought it was long. I thought you didn't have it for like 2 weeks or something.
Oh no. We would have been. It's made me seriously look at like the Tesla battery. No, not a well. I don't want a well. I had a well at my first house that we lived in. It's my grandparents' house now, and the well is still there. I don't know if they ever run it, or my grandfather ever runs it, but it's made me seriously look at getting one of those Tesla wall battery things.
Is it like a generator, basically?
No, it's literally a battery. Like, and it, you can charge. You can, either like it'll drip charge like from your house, or you can have solar charging.
Ooh.
So it's like just a big. It's like a big one of those. One of those things, like one of these things, the battery backup for your cell phone.
Yeah.
It's just a big one of those. But like I noticed a lot of the paid programs running now overnight are for like generator backup generators. So anyway, so we took last week off and it sucked.
Yeah, I have a friend that lives in South Texas, like close to the border and in the valley, and they lost power for about like 6 days.
Fuck me.
Like their power went out on Monday, and I don't think that they got it back until Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, my sister lost power at her house, and she was pissed. Sending me like all these messages, like just cursing out CPS and like, yeah.
Well, what's crazy? I had a friend that lost it at like 10 p.m. So you're like, great, we're fine, and then when you can't leave because it's freaking hell outside and the ice is like starting again, all of a sudden you lose power.
Well, that's
That
what
sucks.
they were doing is they were rotating things. So like it would be like
but they weren't.
they weren't to start off, and then they started doing it. So it would be like 7 hours of power, and then 7 hours off, and then 3 hours on, and then 3 hours off, and it would just kind of rotate like that. And then so it would be in the middle of the night, and either your power would flicker on or flicker off. And it was cold outside. It was like 15 degrees outside during all that. So yeah.
It sucked, and I was pissed off. And I still have this. Can you see this rowdy bruise?
Oh yeah, I remember the picture.
Can you see that bruise? Look at
Dang.
that. It's like an old man bruise, like the ones that like you're just like Grandpa's got a bruise. I don't know why. Like
it's half his body.
It just stays there for like a month. Anyway, now it's warmer. That sucked. Anyway, before we move on, I do want to mention. And we'll mention this at the end of the show, too. We are giving away something, guys. We have our first giveaway in a long time. We're giving away some digital codes for the virtual premiere of Coming to America, happening this Thursday, courtesy of Amazon. And if you want to win those tickets, all you have to do is leave a review of this show. Maybe not this episode, but, the show in general. Leave a review of this show on iTunes. Take a screenshot and send it to podcast@CineSnob.net, and we'll pick the winners on Tuesday. So
leave a 5-star review.
Leave a 5-star review. Yes.
Yeah.
Leave us a 1-star. You can,
go F yourself.
Yeah.
You'll end up like that dog in Coming to the first movie. So leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, screenshot it, send it to podcast@cinesnob.net, and you could win a pass to the virtual screening. I'm not sure how that's going to go. It's like a timed one, so.
Can I enter?
You cannot.
Dang.
I mean, you can leave us a review if you haven't. I mean, you might as well.
I think I did.
I mean, you can use a burner iTunes account and and a burner email and
Sounds
like
good.
elaborately enter if you wanted. If you truly wanted to.
That would be weird. It'd be a lot of effort.
Yeah.
Especially since
Jocelyn Brand.
Yeah, my name is just you with a mustache, like a curly mustache.
Yes.
Anyway, so we'll talk about that again at the end of the show. So we do have some news for this week. Cody, Paramount Plus, something you're very excited about, is launching.
I'm moderately excited.
Oh, come on. You were talking about it like for a week solid.
He's excited.
I talked about it
something
for a
on
day.
it.
Anyway,
You're excited about something that will be on it.
So Paramount Plus, if you don't know, is the what CBS All Access is transforming into. CBS All Access, previously best known for housing original Star Trek shows, and then some other stuff like
Twilight Zone,
Twilight
Zone,
which I've never actually watched, and then The Good Fight, the Good Wife spinoff. Cody, tell us what you're so excited about for Paramount Plus.
Well, there's a few things that I think are worthy of note. Because I think first and foremost, the big news that came out was that Paramount is going to change the theatrical window, which is, we've been inching towards this for a long time. And basically what Paramount is going to do is their smaller movies are going to be shrunken down to a 30-day theatrical window, and the larger tentpole movies are going to 45 days, which means that later this year, Mission Impossible 7, A Quiet Place Part 2, and a few other movies will be hitting Paramount Plus 45 days after they come out in theaters. And for people who don't know, 90 days is the window right now. So it's cutting the window in half. And I'm interested to see if this turns out to be an experiment or if we're just headed in this direction. We'll talk about a little bit how the day and date thing might work, but and then there's just been some announcements for. I've got their list of stuff. They announced a shit ton of content.
So the idea is that they're kind of mining their IP. Mm-hmm. I guess anything that's been like on a Viacom product. Is it still called Viacom? I don't know. I think it might just be CBS
I actually do think it is Viacom. Still.
Anyway, stuff that MTV stuff.
Viacom CBS is what they're called.
Viacom CBS. MTV stuff, Nickelodeon stuff, Comedy Central stuff. Mm-hmm. And there's new programming and new movies based on this stuff, including a brand new Beavis and Butthead movie.
Yeah. In addition, so what we already knew is that there's a Beavis and Butthead reboot coming on Comedy Central, and this is separate from that. This is I guess a full length movie that's happening, which is exciting for me, for a lot of people, I'm sure.
I loved the first one, and I'm a big fan of Beavis and Butthead. I just don't know what a movie means now.
Yeah, because it says in the press release that it's a movie adventure to kick off the new series. So I don't know if it's going to be like a bridge thing or if it's going to be like an extended episode. I don't really know.
I do want to bring up. That reminds me, I wanted to bring up Beavis and Butthead in reference to a movie we're going to talk about later today. But it seems like a strange thing for me to. What you were guessing which movie it's related to?
Yeah, Minari.
Minari,
sure.
No, it's Tom and Jerry, but
yeah.
So the Beavis and Butthead is going to be the revival will be on Comedy Central, which is basically gutted its lineup. What's the matter over there, Cody?
I'm watching my cat slowly knock things off. Yeah.
Anyway, so it's it's Tom and Jerry. The Comedy Central's basically gutted its lineup for reboots of cartoon series from the 90s.
Yeah, wasn't the Rugrats one?
Rugrats is another one. That's coming to Paramount Plus.
Yeah.
There's something else. Another Reno 911.
Yeah, Reno 911. Reno 911, the hunt for QAnon.
I mean, I'm had me at hello. And now I need to sign up.
Frasier.
A Frasier reboot.
I thought he's problematic or something. Isn't
he's a right winger, but he's not obvious about it.
There hasn't been anything that happened.
His career was revived with Money Plane, so I think we're good now.
Oh, that's right.
Jerrod?
Yeah.
There we go.
No, I think he there was talks about a Frasier revival years ago too, like immediately afterward.
Yeah.
Because I think he didn't he get married to, like, in the show, like, married to Laura Linney, and they moved to Boston or like back to Boston or something? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Anyway, it's probably just going to be one of those things that it just ignores what happened before, and all of a sudden he's back in Seattle. And anyway, what else was there? It feels like there was something else big.
In terms of content, there's a weekly Trevor Noah show.
Oh yeah.
There's a Workaholics movie. There's a live-action Dora the Explorer.
Another one?
Yeah, but a series.
And
there's a show being made based on the Italian Job.
What?
There's a Halo show, a Flashdance reboot.
Oh my gosh. No.
The Man Who Fell to Earth, The Parallax View.
The David Bowie movie?
Yeah, yep.
Wow.
With Chiwetel Ejiofor.
I feel like you're playing Mad Libs right now and just like...
It is interesting that,
sticking random words out there.
This is one of those...
a Grease prequel.
What?
It's called Grease, The Rise of the Pink Ladies.
With Millie Bobby Brown.
Maybe. It is funny that I guess this probably marks is this one of those things that marks the end of being able to see a Paramount movie anywhere else streaming? Or is this going to be one of those things that is this going to be one of those things like with HBO and Warner Brothers where this stuff still gets licensed around?
I don't know. I would have to imagine it depends on if it's like a co-production or if it's a straight up, Paramount release. But I have to imagine they're going to try to corner the market on their own streaming service.
See, that's what I thought with HBO too, but then you still get that stuff that's spread around. Like I figured, with this kind of walled garden approach that all these streaming services are taking, it is weird that like you can only watch the Marvel movies minus Spider-Man on Disney Plus. But like, if you want to watch Harry Potter, you know, like, oh, it left HBO Max, which is owned by Warner Brothers, which produced the films, and it's licensed to Peacock now. So it's just a weird setup. I'd prefer if they're just going to build their own little playgrounds, I'd prefer they all just stay in one spot.
Yeah.
Personally, but anyway, I already subscribe as CBS All Access, which kind of sucked before.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe now it'll be better. It had some like just ancient cartoons on it too. Like you could watch Inspector Gadget. And
Oh my God, I loved Inspector Gadget. I wish I had known that before.
I will be interested to see if this brings over any other older stuff, like what kind of archives of Nickelodeon is it going to have, right? Or what kind of
like Comedy Central or MTV. Yeah. Any of those things that kind of were lost to time.
Mm-hmm.
Like Comedy Central, like, are you going to have all of the the stand-up specials you produced? Like literally,
that's there's a ton of it on CBS All Access right now.
Right, but I mean, you're going to have like all of those,
like premium blend and shit.
Yeah, like all that stuff that lives on. That's always been the biggest issue for me with comedy specials on Comedy Central is they would disappear. You couldn't access them again. And then MTV, hey, give us remote control or whatever you have rights to, I guess. Or
120 minutes.
Singled Out or
gosh.
120 minutes would be weird because wasn't that just videos?
Yeah, but no, they would have like live interviews and
with Matt Pinfield.
Mm-hmm. I used to love 120
Matt Pinfield.
Minutes. Yep, he was the host every Sunday night.
What was Headbangers Ball was Ricky Rackman, right? Yeah. Show me some old TRL clips.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, back when Carson Daly was the man and not just the chubby guy on the Today Show. So, anyway, Paramount Plus launches, I think, on Friday, right? March 5th?
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
March the 5th be with you.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we move on?
No.
No? All right. Let's move on to reviews.
Here are this week's reviews.
First up, we have Tom and Jerry.
This hotel has been host to 4 presidents, 3 popes, 2 kings, and we're about to host the wedding of the century.
Do you think you're qualified to take on this position?
I shine under pressure, like a diamond. Or Rihanna.
One other thing. We have a mouse problem.
With the what now? I'll catch it, sir.
Everybody gonna shine. I was born like this, don't even gotta try.
Oh, wow, this is so detailed. We could hire an exterminator, or we can leverage millions of years of predatory evolution.
Got the baddest life.
This is, of course, based on the 81-year-old characters of Tom and Jerry that you probably watched. If you were like me, you watched it, but you were disappointed it wasn't a Bugs Bunny cartoon as a child. Jocelyn, tell us about Tom and Jerry and what you thought of it.
My pleasure. So it's, as you saw, a mix of animation and oh, sorry, my phone's going off. So it's like live action and animation, kind of a combination of both. And the premise is that Tom and Jerry are in New York, and they both end up at a hotel where Chloe Grace Moretz also kind of stumbles into and kind of cons her way into being like an event planner at this like real fancy hotel. And also at this hotel is, the wedding of a century between Colin Jost and I don't know who the other actress is, but so they're having their, huge wedding, and I don't even know.
They're like social media influencers, right?
Yeah,
that's the story.
Too. Yeah, that's a part of it. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in this movie. So then halfway through there's like an Indian wedding also, and that it's like this huge, kind of like Bollywood type of a thing. And and the whole thing, it just gets really out of hand very quickly, I think. I was happy to watch it just, for like the nostalgia of like watching a Tom and Jerry movie. But I really feel like they did way too much. I feel like they could have done so much less with this, and I would have enjoyed it so much more. It could have just been the two characters, running around doing their old antics, and maybe having like, a little more of a storyline. But I mean, there is just so much going on in this movie.
Yeah, the actress's name is Pallavi Sharda.
Thank you.
I guess it kind of it's kind of a Nick Jonas, Priyanka Chopra.
Yeah,
vibe.
Exactly. That's like the couple, Colin Jost and
yeah,
she just said played, but they're really unlikable. And I think they're supposed to be kind of unlikable.
I didn't agree.
I don't think she is.
I think they're just kind of bland. Yeah, it's all very bland. But anyway.
Well, and then there's some odd jokes like about Colin Jost like serving prison time for white collar like crimes, and I'm like, what is going on here? Like, I don't understand how this is supposed to make sense or what they're trying to do.
Look, yeah.
Okay. But I will say I really enjoyed the animated parts. Like when you're talking about Tom and Jerry, like I loved that part. Like I loved seeing Jerry in his like cute little mouse room in the hotel, and like him using all the different things.
It was pretty slick.
Oh, I was like, can I move into his apartment? Like it is adorable, and I loved it. And when it's about Tom and Jerry, I loved it. And then when it was like about all the rest of everything, and then Ken Jeong is thrown in. He's like a chef, like a really high-strung chef at the hotel.
Ken Jeong played a high-strung character.
I know.
He did have the best line in the movie, though.
Oh, I can't wait to hear what that was.
He talked about his son, and it was like that big fat dude.
Oh, that was hilarious. That was kind of funny. It was a surprise. Anyway. But yeah, and then it gets all sappy and sentimental at the end. And like I said, I really did not care about the story that was happening around the two, Tom and Jerry characters. So,
Cody, what about you?
Yeah, well, my complaints are going to be strange because you're going to go like, oh yeah, well, obviously, because this movie's not created for me. So, finding it dumb and stupid is, fairly obvious. But this is a weird movie. Just its existence is strange because like the animation, I like it's weird to have like characters acting with like 2D strange animation I just don't think the animation looked good. I mean, and it was a weird cross between I'll say this. So the way that it uses animation, I think, is very strange as well, because for some reason every animal in the movie is animated, but the animals use real objects. So it's just weird.
That's what Roger Rabbit did.
It had a Roger Rabbit feel to it, as far as like the mix between animation and
when Roger, like the Toons and Roger Rabbit were in the real world, they used real objects.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird.
I mean, there's a lot more problems than just that.
Yeah. The cast is an interesting thing. I think, poor Chloe Moretz is really trying, and I appreciate the effort on her end. Michael Pena is doing, if you've seen Michael Pena in a comedy in the last 10 years, he's doing the same character that he's done 1,000 times. It's him.
What did you call him? The Mexican weirdo?
Yeah, that's basically what he was. He's basically.
So his name was Cody.
Oh, that's mean.
I don't think his name was. Oh, you're joking.
Yeah, she's referencing me. She's calling me a Mexican weirdo.
You could have thrown it right back to me, and you didn't.
Yeah, I don't see race.
Right.
Or ethnicity.
Yes, I think it's not race, but Okay,
I don't see ethnicity. But like basically, it's his Ant-Man character, right? I mean, like that's basically it's his Ant-Man character. You know, he's not quite as weird as his Observe and Report character, but you know, he's got like a weird accent, and I don't know. Colin Jost, my God, what is he doing in this movie? He's almost playing it like too simple, like too relaxed. And it's like his vibe is very strange. I think he actually has a couple of funny parts in it, but it's a weird deadpan humor for a movie that is not subtle at all. Like his performance is too subtle for this particular movie. If that makes sense.
Yeah, there was a nice little like post-credit joke with him. I don't know if you made it that far.
I didn't.
Where he asked if he had to pay for 2 weddings because of the disaster, and they're like, "Yeah, basically." Anyway, it was I get what
hilarious.
You're saying. Look, man, it was slim pickings.
Yeah, look, and I think, you know, like Jocelyn said, the movie spends a lot of time away from Tom and Jerry, and so, you know, the antics that happen with Tom and Jerry are, you know, it's whatever. It's Tom and Jerry. Like, it's a cat and mouse. They're chasing after each other. It's, you know what you're going to get. And then it spends a lot of time, you know, with, you know, long stretches with Chloe Moretz talking to Colin Jost and, you know, his fiance in the suite and trying to, you know, work through things. And it's really, the movie's about her and her, you know, trying to, you know, hold down this job that she's not qualified for. But man, this movie's unbearable. I can't really salvage anything from it. It's so fucking goofy, and like the voice acting is just there's some strange voice acting stuff going on. I was unamused. That's the only thing I can say is I was unamused by it.
So, you know, the Tom and Jerry, like I mentioned at the intro, it's been around. They've been around for 81 years, and I think the biggest thing anyone can say about them as far as their legacy is that they inspired Itchy and Scratchy from The Simpsons. It's clearly a Tom and Jerry motif. That said, if you ever go back and watch the original Tom and Jerry cartoons, they're funny in that kind of just you know, wordless way, but they're kind of eclipsed by stuff like the Roadrunner and the Coyote in their sort of antics. But then the old cartoons are horribly racist at times, like a lot of those from the 30s and 40s are. Is that they have these terrible stereotypes, like Tom's Owner. If you've ever heard of Tom's Owner, have either of you heard this? I told you, Cody.
I don't remember that.
Tom's Owner is an African American stereotype named Mammy Two Shoes. I mean, it's just horrid stuff at this point. So, you know, there's not really something to go back to that's like to look back on fondly. But that said, this movie doesn't really approach that formula at all. Like, it just sort of throws these characters together as though they've never met and don't know anything about each other. Like, that's kind of the weird part of it, is that why is Tom in the city? Like, he's there to like play piano and he dreams he's going to be opening for John Legend. It's a weird fucking thing. Like, it you know, and this is where I bring up the Beavis and Butthead thing, because if you watch Beavis and Butthead Do America, like, it starts with the you know, the premise of the show, and then their TV gets stolen, which is what they were constantly doing in the original show. So that's what sets them off on this adventure. But this Tom and Jerry thing, nothing is like that. They just happen to be two separate things two separate creatures in this city that came together for no particular reason. And
also, it's like, again, I know that this is nitpicking on a Tom and Jerry movie, but like, their rivalry is not like fleshed. Like, why don't they just leave each other the fuck alone? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. There's no reason for Tom to be hanging around other than, you know, having a grudge.
Well, and that's he's got a cat, you know.
But that was the point. That was the point of the series, you know, the cartoon series, though, is that, you know, Jerry was a mouse in his house, and he had to, you know, so like this movie doesn't do that, and it makes no sense. And then like you mentioned, it has these long stretches where there's no Tom and Jerry at all. And while we were watching it last night, this is a joke I sort of ripped off from Riff Tracks and Mystery Science Theater 3000, where it's like I just yelled out the name of the movie, like while nothing in the movie is happening, because it's like Chloe Moretz talking to Jordan Bolger or to Rob Delaney or Michael Pena or someone else for like a good 5 minutes. I'm just like, Tom and Jerry! Like, this is not what the fuck is this movie about? Why is it a Tom and Jerry movie? Like, why is it a Tom and Jerry movie? Why does it start with pigeons singing A Tribe Called Quest? What is that even about? Why is one of those pigeons sort of an omniscient narrator played by Tim Story, the director? What the hell is happening in this movie? Yeah. None of it makes any sense. None of the setup makes any sense. It's just like this stupid kids comedy that doesn't have any like bearing to what Tom and Jerry was. Not that it was much. It was cat and mouse fighting, but beyond that, it doesn't have anything to do with anything other than they're cartoons.
You can only have cat and mouse fighting so many times. So when you try to stretch it out into 90 minutes or 100 minutes or however long it is, that's why they had to put in all the human stuff. And the human stuff just isn't interesting enough to set the story.
But it has nothing to. There's no like premise to it like that matches what's happening with the cat and mouse.
No.
You know, it's not like.
It's not like Alvin and the Chipmunks, where they have a handler. I just thought Colin Jost was going to exactly. I thought he was going to be more involved with like Tom and Jerry, like I maybe not like in an owner way, but sort of similar to how Alvin and the Chipmunks have. What is it, Dave? I thought that was how it was going to play out, and instead it was like this whole big other thing. With this ridiculous wedding. And
by the way, like they're supposed to be these massive influencers, like hyper famous, and their wedding was so poorly attended. And they just walked into the hotel with like
Jared's
2 people taking their pictures. I know. Meow. Like Tom would
You're
say.
the real cat.
I mean, they rode in on elephants, Jared. Come on.
Yeah, but I mean, and I mean, it was like sort of a half-assed take on a Hindu wedding. Like it was weird. There was just not a lot of things happening there that made sense. Anyway, this is a bad, boring movie. And I don't take any pleasure in saying that this is not bode well for Tom and Jerry. But I think they'd kind of run out the clock anyway, because hasn't really been a Tom and Jerry thing. They've been doing like weird direct-to-video things where they're like put them in The Wizard of Oz and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It's a weird.
Really?
It's a very weird thing.
Huh.
Anyway, grades, Jocelyn.
Yeah. With all that said, I still didn't. I didn't not enjoy watching it. I think
I'm afraid of what's going to come here.
I still think it was fun in its ridiculousness and in its absurdity. I'm gonna do a straight C.
Oh, okay, Cody.
Yeah. I mean, I think that Chloe Moretz is enjoyable. It's an enjoyable performance from her. I found Rob Delaney amusing at parts. But it's bad. I mean, the only thing I can see getting out of it is if you have some sort of nostalgia for the slapsticky cat and mouse Tom and Jerry style stuff, and even then, it's all pretty obvious, pretty lazy, and quite honestly, kind of poorly made. So D+ for me.
I'd rather watch Rob Delaney's buried set from Kimmel. Do you know which one I'm talking about, Cody?
Mm-mm.
There's a stand-up set from Jimmy Kimmel that supposedly Rob Delaney tried to have like scrubbed from the internet, and he just bombs.
Oh wow!
I'd rather watch that again. And this is a piece of shit. I'm giving it a straight D. There's a couple of little tiny things that make it not a D-, but this is just a bad movie. But it is available on HBO Max right now, and it opened with really big numbers, COVID standard wise, at the box office.
I believe it is the second largest opening since the COVID era in the theater, if I'm not
It's
mistaken.
something like 13 million, 14 million.
Let me see where it ended up.
Some poor sons of bitches took their kids to see this weekend.
Yeah.
And
13.7 million domestic.
So this is what you were mentioning earlier, Cody, where you think this might be the day and date.
I mean, yeah, it proves that day and date. I mean, it was available on HBO Max for free, and it still made $14 million at the box office. That's not in a pandemic when only half of the movie theaters are open. I mean, if you double the amount of movie theaters and put that at close to $30 million weekend, that's not terrible.
How many people got home and were like, motherfuck, this thing is on HBO Max?
Yeah.
Shit. Yeah.
Well, so it's only on there for 31 days, and then it's off. So
yeah, get it while it's good. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, Minari.
교회 버스 왔어요.
데이빗 놔두고 너 먼저 가.
This just gets better and better.
어느 사람이 그랬어? 아니 저렇게 무거운 걸 어떻게 들었어? 그렇게 무거운 걸 혼자 들었어? 아이고. 자, 어디? 일어나봐. 옳지. 자, 오케이. 자, 걸어봐. 아이고. 스트롱 보이. 스트롱 보이. 왜? 이런 소리 처음 들어봤어? 데이비사, 너는 스트롱 보이야. 할머니가 본 사람 중에서 제일 스트롱 보이야.
할머니, 피피는 무슨 맛이에요?
빵알루미.
This is a Korean language and English drama. We talked about it a little bit at our Best of the Year show. Cody, I believe this was your top movie of 2020?
Yeah, number one.
It's not a lot of unknowns. I think Steven Yeun is the best known star, of course, from The Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember what else he was in. But Cody, tell us about Minari and what you thought of it. I mean, it was your best movie of the year, so it must be good.
Yeah. So basically, the best way to describe Minari is that it is a American Dream movie, right? It's about a family, a Korean family who moved to Arkansas, to like rural Arkansas, onto a farm to try to give the family a better life, and so Steven Yeun is the father of the family. He's got his wife and then two kids there, and basically they sort of kind of go through the struggles of trying to move to a new place while also trying to create this farm while also working, and then some point in the middle of the movie, the wife who is played by Han Yi-ri, her mother comes to stay with them, and these kids, she comes from Korea, and so the kids are kind of meeting and spending time with their grandmother for the first time, and then they kind of try to handle those family dynamics. The boy, played by Alan Kim, is sort of skittish around the grandmother, and that clip is actually the a continuation of I think one of the better scenes in the movie.
The basis of it is the kids love Mountain Dew.
Mountain water.
Yeah. Anyway,
they call it mountain water.
And I really love this movie. I think it's a beautiful movie. I think that it's a really great American dream tale. It's got a lot of controversy in the Golden Globes tonight because it's nominated for Best Foreign Language Film, and with the Golden Globes, you're not allowed to also be nominated for Best Picture. So last year, Parasite was not nominated for Best Picture for the Globes. And the controversy is that this movie is made by Lee Isaac Chung, who was born in Denver. He's an American director. And it's an American story. It's a very American story. I think Steven Yeun is incredible in the movie. I think that he's very, very good in a very subtle way. And I think this is only like the second or third time that he's done a movie in Korean. He was in a movie called Burning last year, where he spoke Korean the whole movie, and it's really interesting. It's a really interesting performance from him. The kids are great, especially Alan Kim is really good. And then the sort of best part about the movie for me is the grandmother, played by Yoon Yoo Jung. She is kind of like the anchor point of the film, because she comes in and she has a very strong personality, and she's trying to basically win over her grandchildren, but she has like a little bit of she's like kind of like rough around the edges a little bit.
Well, she's more Korean than they are, because they're more they've been growing up in America.
Yeah,
right?
and I think that brings about the point that I think, along with the sweetness of the movie and the power of it, it's kind of sneaky funny. I think that there's a lot of really funny parts of it, especially with the grandmother character and the way that she's talking to her grandchildren about being American. There's a lot of dumb Americans jokes and stuff like that. The scene that you saw there with the pee is a very funny part of the movie. I can't. There's not enough good things I can say about it. Just performances from the cast up and down. I will say, if there's one drawback, there's a character played by Will Patton, who plays this kind of like religious nut neighbor kind of character. I don't really know that the Will Patton stuff adds to the movie in any positive particular way for me. It's not enough to detract, because I think his presence is totally fine, but I don't think that it adds anything.
It feels like it's like in a traditional film like that would be building to something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't ever really happen. And I mean, I assume it's based on something that happened in real life. Since
I would have to think so. But I mean, what it is, I mean, it's just a movie about, the trials and tribulations that of trying to assimilate, and also the strain that it puts on, the marriage, especially when, one person, wants something and the other person wants something different. It's the wife does not want to leave California, and they move from California to Arkansas. So, I think it's a really special movie, and easily my top of last year.
Jocelyn, what about you?
I think it's funny you said that sort of side character never really kind of, builds into something, because that's sort of how I felt the whole movie for me. It never really got to where I thought it needed, or it was going. Like I loved it, and I thought it was telling a beautiful story, everything that Cody just said. But for me, it really kind of never reached, I think, a point where I was satisfied with where we were. Instead, I think what we got was like this, sort of, like Cody also mentioned, sort of this discussion on marriage, or, showing the relationship of the mother and the father in this family. And then I was a little disappointed, because for me, it was like all of a sudden just Korean marriage story. And I literally thought that. I was like, oh, now I'm just watching Korean marriage story, where it's like about just this particular marriage, where I thought it was going to be something more, like something bigger and something more beautiful. And so that disappointed me a little bit. Just because I really think it had a lot of potential, and I thought it was really going in this really awesome direction. And I loved all the grandmother stuff with the little boy. Like, that was so good. It was so good. And then it just kind of fell flat.
I'm going to agree with you a little bit on that, Jocelyn. I do think I don't want to use this derogatorily, but a slice of life comes to mind, where there's not really, there's not really a destination in mind. There's not a real story arc. I don't think if there is a story arc in this movie, I don't know that it's terribly obvious. If you want to call like the sort of stresses on the marriage, and then the grandmother's arrival, and then sort of abrupt, dropping out of the plot for, a specific reason. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's, I'm not going to say it's bad. I'm not going to say it's less than, but does feel like it's sort of missing a little something. And again, this is written by Chung on based on his life in rural Arkansas. So I don't imagine that anything is, not it's based on his real experiences, and that's what he drew from. But it does feel a little like it is missing just a little bit of something to kind of make the transition, because I don't know that it ends in a place that is much different than where it started for me plot wise. And it's the performances are great. There is some wickedly funny stuff like the pee scene, and then there's a great scene at a church, Cody, with there's a girl that just starts saying like it's little kids talking nonsense, asking if it comes close to something in Korean, and the daughter is like, "Oh yeah, that's a word for something." I mean, it's just it's innocent sort of stuff like that I think I think this movie has a certain sort of optimism to it, some innocence to it. Like there's no bad guy, I guess you could say. It's just sort of circumstance and differences of opinion that happen. But I think it's good. I think it's missing something that makes it really great, though. Anyway, Cody, what's your grade?
A- for me. Like I said, I haven't. It's been a while since I've watched it a couple times, but I haven't seen it in a couple months. But I just think that the ensemble performances, and I can't speak to what you feel like it's missing, but whatever it is, I think it's there. Because to me, it feels like a complete movie. If anything, it feels like, the heart and the core of the movie is this relationship between grandson and grandmother. And I think through that lens, and then also looking at it through, the lens of Steven Yeun's character, trying to do what he feels like in his mind is the best thing for his family, but doing it at the expense of, the happiness of that family. It's an interesting dynamic that I think is enjoyable. I'll say enjoyable to watch.
Clearly, the chicken plant should have blown up, Cody. That's what should have happened.
It is missing.
Well, they were sexing chickens. It should have blown up.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jocelyn.
No, nothing like that. Nothing like, some grand ending, but just something that tied it all together.
I wasn't being serious.
No, I know, but I think that's like what I think maybe some people might take our criticism to be like, oh, we just needed something to happen, but that's not it. It's almost like something that just tied it all together for me, I think would have been better, or something to kind of make sense of everything that had happened in a nice way would have been just the real, icing on the cake for an already really lovely movie. I'm going back and forth, but I think I'm going to go with a B+.
I'm going to go straight up B. I think the performances are really good. I think there's some really great stuff in here. I just think it's, like I said, missing something a little bit that pushes it over into greatness. But I mean, it is a really beautiful movie, and it is a really, a very American dream story, like you said, Cody, and it's puzzling that just because it's partly in Korean, people think it's a foreign language film. I mean, I don't. Yeah, the rules are weird on that shit.
I'll be interested to see if it wins tonight at the Globes for foreign language film.
I don't even know what it's up against.
Another round, and gosh, I would have to think about it. There's a few others that we've seen, but Another Round is kind of like the favorite for the Oscars. That it's up against, but it's getting a lot of nominations elsewhere. I foresee it potentially being an Oscar player, at least in nominations, when we get those announcements, whenever the hell. It's so strange to be heading into March and the Oscar nominations haven't even been announced.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be March, didn't it?
For the ceremony, but the nominations aren't even out. Nominations used to come out in like January.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, they moved it at one point to February. Anyway, let's move on to our last movie, Billie Eilish, The World's a Little Blurry.
Bop, bop.
Keep going.
Wait. No. Billie passed her test. She can drive now.
I can be alone, though. That's what's important.
This is my parents' bed, and I sleep in here because I'm scared of monsters in my room.
Billie?
Oh!
I love you.
Why can't we just miss people, though? Why do we have to cope? Why can't we just let it happen?
Because it hurts.
I can't believe my dream car is in my driveway.
We're getting the car with all the safety bells and whistles, something that...
Are you guys okay? Hey, you guys need to be okay, because y'all are the reason I'm okay, okay?
This is a documentary about Billie Eilish, who, of course, is a mega pop star now. This documentary seemed to begin, I guess, a little before she exploded into this huge, giant star. Also at 17 years old, which is crazy. Jocelyn, tell us about Billie Eilish, The World's a Little Blurry, and what you thought of it.
Sure. Yeah, exactly like what you said. It's right before she gets super crazy famous. Like for the first half of the movie, you are watching her and her brother make a record in their freaking, bedrooms, which is just crazy. And I had heard that, thought it was a gimmick, thought like, okay, for sure. Like, well, that can't be possible. And it's legitimate. Like they are literally recording it in their bedroom, and it's pretty incredible. And it gave me a bigger appreciation for her as a talented artist. As I told you too, I am hashtag Team Lizzo in this situation, which you guys didn't even know was a thing. But
I don't even, what, is there a beef between them?
No.
There's
Then
not.
what the hell are you talking about?
What happened was, and that's kind of where the documentary leads to, is the Grammys. Like, I mean, if you saw the nominations, it was all Lizzo, all her. And I mean, for me, I was just like so excited to sit down and watch Lizzo win some Grammys, and Billie Eilish just like got every single one. It was like, watching one of those award shows where everyone's like, again, And so that being said, I was very happy to go and see this and to see like just how talented she is. And not only she is, but how talented her brother is as a producer. Like, I don't think he gets enough credit. Like, he is writing the songs.
No,
most of the songwriting is him.
Yeah.
And so
there's always a man behind a woman, Jocelyn. Come on.
No, it reminded me. It reminded me of like Mark Ronson and Amy Winehouse, where you have like this incredible, talented person who's really kind of not troubled. She's definitely not as troubled as Amy Winehouse, but she struggles a lot with like feeling mediocre with what her fans are going to think about what she's doing and all those things. And then you have like this brother who is like really kind of like her little compass, and he helps her through that. And it's really beautiful to see, and also to see her family and just how much they support her. So I really liked all that. Also, there's a really funny thing with Justin Bieber in the movie that I really enjoyed. Like when I got to see her, meet him and nerd out. It was really cute, and he, kind of formed this little relationship with her that I really loved to see. And it was kind of cool to see kind of behind the scenes of all that. And then again, just leading up to the Grammys where she just swept. And like I said, I was really disappointed that night because, my favorite artist didn't win. I mean, she won like 3, but she was up against Billie, like in all of those categories, but all the major ones, like, I mean, Lizzo got like best urban album, it was like, oh, she's a Black woman and she can't win like best record of the year. You know what I mean? It was like, she got all the ones that were like, oh, R&B or
Look,
like,
I don't know anything about
Lizzo.
the I don't know anything about the Grammys, so I have no horse in this race. What is the difference do you know the difference between Song of the Year and Record of the Year?
I don't think there is a Song of the Year. It's Record of the Year.
Yeah, no, it literally, she won.
I believe one is a producing award and one is a songwriting award, if I'm not mistaken. I think the distinction between the two is like one is production and one is writing.
The Grammys are a joke, by the way. They are a flat out joke because it's all popular music.
Well,
But anyway.
I again just was obsessed with Lizzo last year and that album, and then now I'm going back and I'm giving Billie Eilish another chance because hers was also great, and I think this documentary helped me see that. And it's long, but I really loved it. I liked this. I was going to say it is very typical. Like she's a 17-year-old rock star. And there's some moments where that is very apparent. You saw one in the van where she's like saying like, well, why do we have to? And it's like, okay, there's a camera on you and you're pretending to be philosophical and you kind of got to roll your eyes, but she's 17 years old. So you kind of give her a pass.
Anyway, yeah. Cody, what about you?
By the way, I just want to point out my definition and explanation was exactly right. Song of the year is the songwriter who wrote the lyrics, and then record of the year is the performing artist, the producer, the recording engineer of the thing. So one's a writing, one's a producing one.
So you mean the thing that the thing that you Googled before the show is still correct?
Yeah, I'm just glad I was just waiting for one of you to
wait.
that.
Which one is which again?
Song of the year is the songwriting award. Record of the year is the production award.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're a joke because those two can really never be separated, can they?
Sure. I mean, music and lyrics can be written by someone who performs. Someone who performs it can be different.
But what I'm saying is like
best director and best picture.
Right. Like you can't. Yeah.
But I mean,
credibility wise.
But the Oscars have it too. So Grammys can have it also.
Anyway.
So I don't have a lot of Billie Eilish knowledge going into this. Can't say that I'm a fan. Not that I'm against it, but I just haven't been exposed to her music. And I typically like music documentaries quite a bit. And I think one of the more interesting things about it is that I'm glad that we didn't get a version, because when I hear like 16, 17-year-old mega superstar, I'm going to think that this is going to be dripping with entitlement and like arrogance or something like that. And she's not that at all. And I think it's refreshing. She is down to earth, and in the struggles that she has really, and who knows how much of this is, for the camera. I think I found it to be authentic, but not wanting to, let people down with a bad performance. You see her like on stage, like leave because she doesn't feel comfortable giving a half-assed performance because she gets hurt and injured in the middle of
had a pretty rowdy sprained ankle.
Yeah.
Like NBA style.
Yeah. With where it goes like sideways. So, I think I agree. I think that where the movie struggles is I won't say that it's like rudderless, but it does lack some sort of defining quality of like, this is the story it's trying to tell, this is the message it's trying to send. It really is sort of like fly on the wall following her around, but there's no narration, there's no graphics on the screen really that kind of tell you what's going on. And so you're just watching this stuff take place over an undetermined amount of time. And, it does a lot of things really interestingly, but it doesn't do one thing really great. And I think that's the thing that kind of holds it back. First and foremost, it's like 2 hours and 20 minutes. It's long. And there's a lot of like extended musical performances in it. So I think people who are fans of hers are going to eat this up, and I think they're going to love it. I can't imagine someone going into this blind and getting a ton out of it, but like the relationship between her and her brother, legitimately interesting, right? The idea that they're writing this mega huge album that wins 6 Grammys and he's doing it like on a MacBook in Logic, and she's recording sitting on a bed in their childhood home, like
with towels over, like studio,
yeah. I mean, the most fascinating thing to me was they're writing and producing the No Time to Die theme song.
Yeah.
Clearly, like you're hearing it and you're clearly like, this is a spot on James Bond theme song. And she's still like, man, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, and they do it in one night. I'm like, this is exactly what this is supposed to be.
Right. Well, and it's I love shit like that. I love watching like studio footage of stuff I know. Like I find that endlessly fascinating. And especially with this, but that's only a part of it. You see her, try to deal with a relationship, which is not my favorite part of the movie. But
that boy was trash.
Jerrod
he was,
hated him.
and like
he was.
But that's what you do when you're a 17-year-old girl, you know? You date guys that are wrong for you, that treat you bad.
But he was also like bafflingly unconcerned with the massive success she was having.
I mean, but that is like when you're that is probably appealing to someone like her.
You didn't date a bad boy
age.
when you were 17, Jerrod? You didn't have a bad boy
I'm
phase?
just saying, like, if I had been headlining Coachella, like my boyfriend at 17 would have probably been there. Like he would have probably wanted to come hang out backstage. I don't know. I mean, this guy just must. Yeah. Anyway.
And I honestly, I like the looks where you can see her being a teenager. Like the idea that she meets like Orlando Bloom backstage at a show and like does not quite put together that Katy Perry's, husband or fiance or whatever is Orlando Bloom,
who is Will Turner from Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah.
It's funny. There's some funny stuff. I think the Bieber stuff is really, it's interesting because again, we're talking about like it does a lot of things, but not one thing really well, because there is something super interesting in that Bieber story of like the reversal of seeing the like the way that Billie Eilish reacts to Justin Bieber is the way that people react to her now. Yeah. And I think that parallel is super interesting, and it's kind of explored, but it's like it's doing these other things. It's showing their family and the supportive parents, but it's too snapshotty and it's too fly on the wall kind of slice of life kind of thing to really make an impact. And I wish that it had more to say about, superstardom or, overnight success or being a teenager who's trying to deal with all this stuff. Like it's in glimpses, but it's passing. And I wish that they would have spent more time developing maybe like a thesis behind the documentary.
Yeah, because the movie sort of the documentary sort of starts in the middle of her like rise to success. She's recording her album. You see them writing and recording it. Obviously, a song like "Bad Guy" and "All the Good Girls Go to Hell." Those are huge hits now, and you see the genesis of those songs, and you see that she's in this modest LA house. And then she's leaving to go tour, and it never really quite squares those two, I think, in a way that's satisfying enough, because this is clearly made with her cooperation, and the family's cooperation from the get-go. So again, I don't know how much of it is just sort of a vision they wanted to put out there. I'd like to think that it's pretty true to life, because apparently, from what I understand, she still lives with her parents. And I mean, there's a scene at the end where her and her brother are talking about how they're multimillionaires. And
well, there's a great quote that I can't remember if it's her or Phineas that says it, but she says something like, "We have millions of dollars, but we're not millionaires."
Oh yeah. But it's
she's 17, so she's not an adult.
Well, she's 19.
She's 19 now.
But I mean, in the movie, when she's living
sure, but I mean, it doesn't mean that from what I understand, she still lives at that house.
Oh, I see.
And I think that there's she has clearly some sort of depression issues, and then has Tourette's, which I didn't know. It seems to kind of express it. She's not the kind of stereotypical sort of Tourette's. It's sort of like she
triggered by like fatigue and stuff.
But she gets really like kind of head jerky, and her eyes kind of bug out. It's a very, very interesting story, and it's something I had no idea about her. Like I thought it was all just some sort of. You get these like young pop stars, and it's usually some sort of manufactured thing.
Like money has been funneled into the product kind of thing.
Right. And, there's clearly, it's not just her and her brother in the bedroom. Like there's the, when they win the Grammy again and they're backstage, you see like two old white guys high five because they're like the engineers that mastered it. But, and the family is clearly one of those sort of creative.
Yes. I mean, her middle name is Pirate.
Yeah. I mean, this was, her dad ruled, by the way.
He ruled.
I mean, he's just like so quiet, and like was that scene where he's combing his mustache?
Oh,
was great.
I know. I loved that part too.
But yeah, it's super fascinating. It's so long though. And I do agree with Cody. It gets a little rudderless at times because it's just sort of a, there's a lot of extended musical performances, which, I don't mind. I'm in the same boat with Cody. It's just not something I've been exposed to. I've heard her music before, and it gave me a new appreciation for it. I think the most striking thing, being someone who's older, is she had her first song released when she was 13, which was 6 years ago. So it's like all this video is recorded on like an iPhone 7. Like, no big deal. It's the passage of time. I think is something that it could have been a bigger part of this story. Is that she's goes from she's 13 years old when she has her first song played on the radio, and then she's 17 years old when this is happening, and she's touring the world, headlining Coachella. Just massively famous and massively talented too. The Bieber thing is she was clearly a Bieber fan, being of the right age. The Bieber thing maybe feels a little opportunistic from Justin Bieber.
Jumping on that bandwagon.
And then there's another thing, like you said, Cody. It doesn't have any graphics except like for the cities. And there's a scene where she's at a concert performing, and another dude comes out and like starts singing with her, and the audience goes nuts. I'm like, I don't know who that guy is. And I told my wife, like, this is where my old ass needs supers for everyone that comes on screen.
So I think that was her boyfriend.
No, it wasn't her boyfriend. It was a different guy.
No? Are you sure? Okay.
Because her boyfriend's a rapper, but he's no one that like
I
that.
had assumed that was like them introducing him into the movie. Like, this is...
No,
no.
The boyfriend is a weird story because he's clearly trash, like in a way that like he doesn't.
Jerrod, you sound like
such a bitch.
No, you can sound like a dad. It's adorable.
But he's clearly
You're not good enough for her.
He clearly doesn't give a shit, and the movie clearly paints that. But you never really see him, except in like fleeting glimpses. It's weird.
Yeah.
But yeah. Once it got to the intermission. Like it pops up intermission, and I turned to my wife, like, how fucking long is this thing? And it's 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and that's too long.
Yeah, it's too long.
It's very, very interesting, and it gave me much broader appreciation for Billie Eilish. I still don't know, I guess the jury's still out on what kind of performer she'll become.
Right, yeah. I think that's what everyone's sort of interested in watching. And she's very in control of her whole thing. Like she did some concert where she like briefly showed like some nudity and everyone went crazy. And she was like, this is for me to do. Like, I'm an artist and I'm going to be very, what's the word? Just very like in control of my, how you see me. And so
she was nude.
Yeah,
I think the thing was
some video where she had like brief nudity in it, and she was trying to say like basically, I'm going to do what I want with my body. Y'all are going to get mad at me no matter what. So just get used to it. Basically,
there's a deeper story to that, I think, because I think that had to do with her like wearing baggy clothes.
Well,
all the time.
And she does that. So she talks about like she does that because she doesn't want people to have any opinion on, and I love that. Like there's things like that where you're like, God, she is so in control of like just her thing, like who she is, and I just, for a 17-year-old, it's just so refreshing to see. And I think she's a great role model, for those reasnes.
Yeah, there's a little talk in the movie about her being a role model. I guess they have some sort of manager who was talking about how drugs and alcohol and stuff to avoid.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, they were talking about how she was going to put out something that was anti-drug and alcohol, and not wanting to put that out there because someday when she decides that she may want to drink or something, that'll get thrown back in her face.
And that's exactly the same thing about like what she wears and how her appearance. It's sort of a similar kind of thing that she wants to be, aware of, I guess.
Anyway,
Anyway,
grades, Jocelyn.
Oh gosh, I forgot I had to do this part. I think like obviously I kind of got interested in her a couple years ago. Didn't know a lot about her. This really, I think, even if you know nothing about her, is just a really fascinating kind of look behind the scenes into pop culture and all that good stuff. So I really liked it. I'm going to give it a B+.
B+, Cody.
Yeah, like I said before, I think that it's too long, and I think that the interesting stuff is spread too thin. Like I would have watched a documentary about her and her brother, and then through the making of that album, and been like fine. That would have been great. But there's just too much. But it's good. B-.
Yeah, I agree with you, Cody. It's good. It is too much, and it's a little too unfocused. So I'm going to go with a straight up B. This is available now on Apple TV Plus. That is going to do it for this week. Next week, Cody, what the hell is happening next week?
Well, we have Coming to America next week.
Oh, yes. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. We also have Raya and the Last Dragon, the new Disney movie. And
another premium release. This is the first time they've done that since Mulan.
Correct. Yeah. And then we've got a couple other maybes. We'll talk about them. There's some stuff opening. Like Paramount Plus is launching with the new SpongeBob movie.
I actually quite enjoyed the last SpongeBob movie.
The last SpongeBob movie is great.
Yeah.
I really liked it a lot. Were you there at that press screening where it was like me, Kiko, and I think maybe you? I don't remember.
I was there.
And like we were all like loving it while we were watching it.
They gave us like SpongeBob 3D glasses, like commemorative glasses. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. But I just remember like all of us really enjoying it and finding it so strange that we all really liked it. And then there's maybe another movie that's coming out on Hulu that we may cover. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of
I'm sorry. If it's opening, if we can get a screener, Chaos Walking is coming out on the 5th.
I don't know what that is.
It's the Daisy Ridley and Tom Holland movie that's been delayed 1,000 times.
Oh, yes. Speaking of Coming to America, again, you can enter our contest to win a code for the virtual premiere on Thursday night. Just go to iTunes. Leave a review on iTunes of this show, a 5-star review of the CineSnob Podcast. Take a screenshot of it. Email that screenshot to podcast@cinesnob.net, and you will be entered to win. We'll announce the winners on Tuesday. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Listen to our other shows that haven't been updated in a while. The Ramble, blah, blah, blah. Jocelyn, what about you? How's your pool? Oof.
My... No, I was just thinking of how Coming to America was kind of like something that I, hadn't seen until like literally just a couple years ago. It reminded me of Good Willow Hunting.
Nice plug.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. This week, oh God, this week is The Running Man.
Which is being remade
by Edgar Wright.
Yeah.
The Running Man, is that the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah. Gregory Hines.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that either.
I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, that's paired with a John Candy movie.
There's some game show host
John Candy?
There's some game show host in The Running Man.
Uncle Buck?
We did Uncle Buck already.
That's right.
Richard Dawson is who you're talking about. Is in Running Man. But no, we're doing. Let's see, Armed and Dangerous.
Ooh, I don't think I ever saw that one.
Same.
Yeah, it's John Candy, Eugene Levy, Robert Loggia, and Meg Ryan.
Oh, Eugene Levy, who is going to win a Golden Globe tonight for Schitt's Creek.
I'm hoping that Ted Lasso wins Golden Globes tonight. That'd be great. I just finished. I watched it the third time through.
I still haven't seen it. I've heard nothing but great things.
Cody made me watch it, and I loved it. It's really good.
Yeah.
If you want to reach us, you can email us at podcast@cinesnob.net. Find us on Twitter @CineSnob, Facebook CineSnob Critic. CineSnob.net on Facebook.
Yeah.
Find us on YouTube. We're Twitch. Hi, Twitch. We're live now. Anything else before we go?
Now we got 7 minutes until the ceremony.
The Golden Globes. All right. On that note, I am Jerrod Kingery.
Oh, and by the way, the Golden Globes mean nothing. They're stupid awards. I'm Cody Villafana.
And I'm Jocelyn Durand.
God, hold on.
Thank you for listening to the CineSnob Podcast. To read reviews, interviews, and more, visit cinesnob.net. See you next week.